What is going on, everybody? It is Thursday night. It is 6 p.m. My name is Paul Spencer. That man, oh, I'm easy on that side. That man right there is
Yep.
Dan Connor. Dan, it's the NFL Weekly Talk. How are you feeling this year after an insane year for both of our teams, Dan?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good. I haven't really paid attention to the NFL much, but I usually do that after the season ends, after the season we had. But I'm pretty good, hoping for brighter horizons for my team.
Uh,
So,
Dan, I don't think it can get any worse for either of our two. Well, we can go down to your level, but
it could
you
get worse
know,
for your team. You guys won
it,
7 games. You could be like 3 and something, yeah, like 3
yeah.
and 14 next year. So it could get
Uh,
worse for you.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that, man. I really
For
appreciate
us, I
that,
don't
Dan.
know.
I
All
mean,
right.
we can honestly say both our teams, Dan, had probably one of the worst years possible. An experience of watching this team this year, both of our teams. I guess a clear thing would be this: they didn't shit the bed. They didn't even get out of bed, basically. You know what I mean?
Well,
Is
you
what it
lose
was.
Dak Prescott if you're the Cowboys, you're probably going to be in trouble. I see. I think if they had Dak Prescott, they probably more wins. We had nothing. Daniel Jones sucked. We had no quarterback. But
Yeah,
Neighbors was good. Had
that's
some
true.
bright spots individually.
That's true. Eddie, what's going
What's up,
on? Eddie
Eddie?
says, Paul and Dan, how you doing, Eddie? Thanks for checking in, brother. Appreciate you.
What's going
Well,
on? What's
Dan,
going on?
I mean, it is the off season, Dan. We're going to work our way around the NFL like we always do in the off season here. We're going to hit each
Yep.
division. Of course, we're going to go from pretty much what we consider the bottom feeders, to the cream of the crop. And at least we can talk our division at the very end, Dan, because one of our teams did win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they did. But yeah, they did what they had to do and played well and
Yeah, give them
played great
credit.
defensively and kicked the shit out of the Chiefs. And I can't say I don't mind seeing that.
Yeah,
So
I mean, give them credit, Dan. Domination. I mean, we hate the team, but
yeah,
still, it's just, hey, listen,
their defense was incredible in the
it's
playoffs,
domination. Yeah, they shut down,
especially
the
the
running
Super
game.
Bowl.
Yeah, shut down the running game, shut down the passing game, kept Mahomes in the pocket, and it was just like it reminded me of the Broncos the year that they just tore apart the Super Bowl. Dan, that's what it looked
Yeah.
like to me. Domination on both sides of the
So
ball.
21 nothing. That Broncos when their Broncos went up like 21 nothing, a pick six and like a punt block return like in the
Yeah.
beginning, but it's the way it goes, So
Yep. And he says losing Dak was a big loss. Yeah, I do agree with
of
that.
course.
Losing Dak was no big loss. Well, which is it? No big loss or big loss? I think it was.
I I'm gonna
I
have to
think,
disagree because Rush is okay, but Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. He's better than average.
yeah, I mean,
Let's say.
I would probably give them 1 or 2 games, Dan, honestly. But the weapons they had this year, there was nothing to be, proud about with the weapons they had,
No.
other than CeeDee Lamb. Rico, I tell you what, Rico, opened my eyes this year. Rico down to the running back, but still, you had no weapons, Dan, other than CeeDee Lamb. And he played hurt half the season with that UCL injury too.
Still a good CeeDee Lamb, if he's healthy, he's great, but I think it's a big loss. I do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
disagree with that one,
Mhm.
but
Yep. Well, Dan, we're going to work our way. We're going to talk about eight divisions here, basically, is what we're going to do. And we're going to work our way into, the NFL draft like we always do. We talk draft picks at the very end of our, all of our things. We're going to work our way through the divisions. And Dan, where are we starting today? What division are we starting with?
we're gonna start with the NFC South
Oh,
today.
wow. NFC South. Okay.
That
All
which
right.
was competitive for a little bit, but yeah, but yeah, we're gonna start with the New Orleans Saints. I mean, they had not a very good year. Derek Carr was hurt, played 10
Yeah.
games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and even when he played, he kind of underperformed. But a lot of big questions for the Saints. They didn't have a good year. They're in cap hell, negative $58 million in cap space.
Oh my
So they're gonna
goodness.
have to do that thing where they're gonna have to cut a lot of people, restructure a lot of contracts.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, I think they're not going to be a very good team next year. But they're figuring out what they're going to do about their cap space, and obviously the quarterback. You're going to bring Derek Carr back. Uh, they still have Kamara, but they're getting older. I mean, that team's getting older. I mean, they
Well,
really need wide receivers. Olave good, but he played 8 games. The thing about that is a lot of injuries this year for them. A lot of injuries
I
for the
agree.
Saints.
I agree. I mean, the way they started the season, Dan, 5-12, they shot out 3-0, Dan, right away. They blew us away, played the Cowboys away in week 2 by 30 some points. Couldn't stop them. But the way they looked in the beginning of the season, when Carr was actually healthy, Olave was healthy, they were healthy. But then the injury
Yeah,
bug hit them, Dan, and they went downhill to the point where, wow, Olave's hurt. Rashid, he wasn't even there in the beginning, basically. Scandling, he was a no-show after this. He got hurt a little bit. But the big question, too, is their running game, Dan. Alvin Kamara is not what Alvin Kamara is before. He is
he's
totally
getting
different,
older.
Dan. He
He's
is,
lower too.
yes.
I mean, they won their first 2 games and they lost 1, 2,
Hmm.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Saints.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
a lot of
mean,
that cars out. But man, I mean,
mhm.
yeah, getting hurt, losing Derek Carr, but that's what I said. They're one of the oldest teams in the NFL, the Saints.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They look
Uh,
average age of 27. They have a lot of work to do, and they're not gonna have a bad season. I don't see them being a good team next year with their cap situation.
yeah,
I
minus
don't think they're gonna be
54.
much better than they were.
Yeah, and we know Zach Martin informed he's going to retire. That saves. I'm good. I'm
Yep.
happy with it. That saves us money on the cap board a little bit.
Yep.
Because we need to cut a couple other people, reconstruct contracts like crazy. So yeah, Derek Carr got hurt. Yeah, I mean he was injured playing the entire year. So I mean, Dan, do you honestly think that? Okay, let's say Derek Carr, he's still maintaining a $35 million contract per year, Dan. Okay, and I think he's got 2 years left coming off that contract. Do you
Just
think they
too injury prone.
do you think they just hand over the keys to Spencer Rattler? I mean, he's younger, Dan. They went out and got him in the draft. Late round pick. They brought him in. Rattler, he's a mobile
I think
quarterback. He's still young. What do you do? What do you do?
he played 7 games, had 1,300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 picks. I mean, not
Mhm.
horrible, but I think they could be drafting a quarterback possibly. Um,
Ah,
even though there's lot to desire, but they have a lot of questions to ask. First, they got to figure out what they're going to do with Derek Carr. I think when
that's
they
the thing.
figure that out, then they'll kind of determine their direction. But quarterback is definitely something they need to fix. And I don't know if I'm going to bring Carr back 2 years, and they're negative $58 million in cap space, so they have to fix
Yeah,
that.
that's what I mean. I mean,
And a
if you're
way to
gonna,
fix that is, I don't know what dead cap money they would have if they just got rid of Carr. No one's
you
taking
said,
that contract with his
no,
injury
no,
history, in my
no,
opinion.
nobody's going to take that contract away from him because
Who knows? Maybe they got lucky, but I don't know what they're gonna do with him.
But Dan, if
Because
we
him,
talk.
Kamara are probably 2 highest paid guys.
I believe so, yeah. But Danny, think about it. If they do draft the quarterback, they're sitting in what, seventh spot or right in that area there,
9,
ninth spot.
9.
Dan, they're not going to get the top quarterback. The two prospects are
No,
Shador and Cam Ward. Dan, you have so many holes to fill and no money for the next 5 or 6 years.
exactly.
You can't give up your draft pick because you have holes to fill.
You
Moving
can't
up to
give
get
up
that
any
quarterback,
draft picks.
you can't do it. You can't. You
Uh-uh.
might as well just cut him. Go with Rattler, roll the dice and just play in the top 10 the next 2 years, Dan, and get the draft picks and rebuild.
Maybe you
Kellen
get a
Moore,
quarterback in 2026 if you're gonna have a bad season. Let's
right,
say you
right.
go 3-14, 3-4, you got top 3 pick. Maybe you get one of those top quarterbacks. You never know.
Agree, agree. I think they just let it roll out because I think I think they're using Kellen Moore. I think when he got hired, Dan, he had to go in that office and say, "Look, we're minus $54 million. I can't win with this team right now.
That's
You got
another
to give
thing.
me."
Kellen Moore's the head coach. I'm interested to see how he does.
Yeah, I mean,
Offensive minded guy,
but Dan, he
you
had
know?
to go into that office, the owner's office, and say, "I can't win with this team. I'm negative 54 million. You
Must
got
be
to
a
give me
plan
two or
in
3 years."
place.
Yeah, there's got to be a
Oh,
3 or 5 year window.
he should get 3 years minimum
Yeah, I'm
in
saying,
my
yeah.
opinion, unless it's
Yeah.
an absolute disaster. But I
Mhm.
think if you're the Saints, where they're at, as old as they are, they're gonna have to I think they're gonna have to just get rid of Carr and pay his the cap hit. to
It
get
might be
rid of him,
better. Yeah, it might be better
you
to do
might be
that.
better off because
Yeah.
there's no way they're going to be a good football team next year.
No, not at
I
all. Not
just
at all.
not in the situation they're in. If they had a better roster, they weren't as old and they were younger, then maybe. But they have some nice pieces, I would say. But the quarterback is probably the biggest thing, and you may just go with Rattler. You
Yeah, I
give him
agree.
another weapon in the draft at 9. You can get an impact player.
Mhm.
Yeah, because they're going to need more offensive weapons. They don't have much. They have Olave, and
Rashid
so
and Marvin Scandlin, and that's really it. Kevin Austin barely even played. Cedric Wilson, he's been a journeyman. After the Cowboys, he went to the Buccaneers for a while. He's been a journeyman, so he's not a 1, 2, 3 wide receiver. You got to get that guy to complement Olave, Dan. You have to.
yeah, and there's plenty of receivers. You can get that guy. What's his name? He's like 6'5".
Which one?
He's like one of the better receivers, McMillan or
Oh,
something.
from Arizona. Arizona, yeah. Mhm.
He's a receiver. That would be a nice piece.
I think he might be gone
Um,
before them. Him, because I think Travis Henry's not going to be the wide receiver. I think he's going to be playing corner in the NFL, honestly. And I think
yeah,
McMillan's going to be the number one wide receiver. And I can see teams taking him right away before they get to the Saints there, because
maybe.
just like Eddie said, the Saints need to take the best player on the board. I mean, at this point, you might have to do that. You might have to do that. You know what I mean? It's you might have to.
Maybe the best approach. Maybe Clark trade for the Jets for a 6th rounder. He might be better than Rodgers, but I don't know if the Jets even want to do that either.
Yeah,
I
but
would take that contract.
do the Jets one? Okay, 6th rounder. Hell, I'd be happy. I'd be happy of the Jets to get a 6th rounder for a Derek Carr. But then you pay the penalty of that $30 million hit. You know what I mean? That dead space. The Saints will eat it, but the Jets
And
would
the
have to
Jets
be
only
liable
have
for at least 20
11
million.
million.
They
They only
can't
have
do
11
it
million in cap space. The Jets.
unless they're in the same boat. They're cutting people right and left.
Yeah, but a very disappointing year for the Saints. But maybe if Derek Carr gets hurt, they're not 5-12. But I don't think. I think he got hurt last year, like 2023, also.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so he's just very injury prone. To pay him $35 million a year, I don't know. But
And
maybe they'll just keep him. I mean, I don't know how they're going to save cap space. That's their problem.
And you know what? During the back half of the season, Dan, they did let go of Lattimore too, which saved them a lot of money too. And you think about it, they let him go to the Commanders. Injury prone. I get that, but still,
They
he
had
was
to.
still their top corner. On the team.
Yep.
And you get rid of a big contract like that, you take the dead space away. It's still a huge contract for the Saints, and they're still negative $54 million after releasing their best corner.
Exactly. It's 50, negative 58, or it's negative 51. It doesn't matter, but that's a lot. Now that's not good for them. And like I said, anybody right, take the best player available.
Right.
I
mean, I think you have to go weapon, Dan. I mean, what's either that or I mean, their offensive line was okay, but do you go offensive line?
A pass rusher. You could take a corner. I mean, there'll be a lot of defensive pieces at 9 also.
If I would, best player available, if there is a tackle out there, you don't want to go left tackle because you have Faluga, who did his drafted last year. Dan, he was a stud.
Yeah.
He played great. Trevor Penning's good
you're
on
not
the
going
other side.
Yeah, I think offensive line might not be their issue, but they need another weapon.
Yeah,
and they definitely need a good, a real talented impact player on defense, because their defense is also getting older.
Agree with that 100%. Yeah, I think they do go weapon. Who's available? I don't know, but I just can't see him moving up, Dan, because you don't want to give up, your draft picks, because your draft pick next year, Dan, is going to be a top 10 pick as well, where the team is built right now. So I wouldn't give it up. I would not give it up. I would not give it up.
And the class may be better next year for quarterback than this year. Or projected anyway.
Yeah, I think there's 2 or 3 that I like coming out next year. I mean, this year you think about it, you got Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders.
And then you got your other guys like Jackson Dart. You have there's like a couple others, and that's really it. There aren't really too many.
Yeah, I don't like Jackson Dart that much. I mean, I really don't like the way he plays. He Ole Miss. He's a run and gun type of guy. To me, he's like a slinger who makes mistakes, but still,
I like Cam Ward. He's got the size. He needs some work, but I think he's talented. He's like 6'4", 230. Shedeur Sanders like 210, 205, something like that.
My dark horse, Dan, is I seen this kid play in high school, and I watched him at Ohio State. I watched him at Syracuse. Kyle
Syracuse actually.
McCord.
I
Yes.
actually thought about if he was there like later in the draft, like Kyle McCord. I think
Yes.
is a solid quarterback. I think
Yep.
prospect that is.
Mhm.
He just was overlooked because he played Syracuse, but Syracuse had a really good season
But Dan,
this
you
year.
can. Here's the thing. When I talk college football, I
Could
can't name
develop him.
one. I can't name one wide receiver that Syracuse had. And he still threw for 4,500 yards. Dan.
Yeah, he had a pretty good season. He could run, he could throw.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I think it was a coaching decision.
I think it was too. I mean, well, you know what? He totally. If you're talking bowl game, yes, he quit on his team. He didn't play. But then again, I mean,
I get it.
when you lose to Syracuse, you get routed against Syracuse. You're out of the bowl standings.
They have
SMU
no
gets in.
defense.
No, they
Yeah,
don't have
Miami
any
has no
defense.
defense. Cam Ward and Restrepo was like the only two players they had on
Yeah,
offense,
Xavier Restrepo was their main
and that's it.
offense.
They
Mhm.
didn't have
Yeah.
any really much else.
Yeah. But then,
So
I can't knock Cam Ward for sitting out that bowl game because he's a projected one quarterback in the NFL draft.
no,
Why
I
why
don't.
why go out and risk a
I
bowl
don't.
game and get hurt? I don't knock that. I don't think he quit on his team though. I don't think that. No.
If
No.
it was like a playoff game and he just that'd be way more alarming,
Yeah,
obviously.
that would be
But it's a
different. That would
bowl
be
game.
different.
It's a meaningless bowl game. So
Yeah. I get that point. Yeah.
I'm not gonna really say that because he gamed all year and he did the best he did, but he had nothing else but Restrepo.
Mhm.
Let's see.
I'm sorry. Saints could use McMillan from Arizona if he falls that far. If he falls, I don't think he's going to fall because, like I said, Travis Hunter is committed to being a corner in the NFL, is what he said. So he's going to be the top corner, which leaves McMillan as the top
Well,
wide
for
receiver.
Travis Hunter, he'll be a corner, but you have 10 to 15 plays for him offense. He'll be your kick
Oh,
return and punt
definitely,
return.
definitely. You have a scripted
That's
play for him on the offensive side, of
that's
course.
that's what you'll
Mhm.
maybe, but the coach has said, you know what, he's not going to play. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to,
but
you have to blame the coach on that.
well, whatever,
Honestly, I mean,
whatever. I'm not worried
yeah,
about that. If he gets
yeah.
the right coaching, is in the right situation, I think he could be good. So
But
we'll see. But
some GMs, some GMs, Dan, are going to be like, well, just like Eddie said, the bowl game,
yeah, no.
he played a quarter, he played a drive, then he sat out, he didn't care.
We'll
He
have to see
wasn't,
how his
yeah,
how his interviews go at the combine,
yeah, that's the thing. Put him in a
and his
situation where
pro
you're going
day.
to ask him. Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly.
That's really, I think, for Cam Ward, I think he has the talent, but he will be asked that question, and his interview process will be important.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right,
That's
but
good.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Saints 5-12, ton of
Wow.
cap issues, no caps. They're way over the cap. We'll have to see in a couple weeks here, when free agency comes around soon, what they're going to do.
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
but best player available, I think that's what they should do.
mhm.
Who knows? Maybe a certain player will fall. You never know. Maybe a Glam, Abdul Carter will be gone.
Yeah, he'll be gone. I think
But
I
there'll
think
be
Clint
some corners, there'll be wide receivers and offensive linemen in that spot.
Yeah, I think Abdul Carter goes to Cleveland. Since if Myles Garrett gets traded, he's definitely going to Cleveland. Abdul Carter. Who needs a wide receiver in the top 8? I honestly think Tennessee needs one. I think
New
the
England,
Patriots, the Patriots need one. I think there's
Cleveland probably does. Jacksonville, the Raiders, the Jets, the
Jacksonville.
Panthers, and then
Jacksonville, I think they go offensive line. That's where I think Campbell goes,
I
Dan. I
think
think
so.
I think Will Campbell goes there because how many times was Trevor hurt this year, Danny? Being sacked, running out of for his life. So yeah.
But the interesting thing of the draft is see who trades up. I don't think the Saints are going to go from 9 to 1 or 2. They'd have to give up a ton for that.
Oh yeah, you're not going to
I
move up.
couldn't do that. So,
No.
we'll see what the Saints do.
Yep.
You know,
Well, where are we talking next, Dan? What team are we talking next?
the Carolina Panthers,
Wow,
5-12,
Panthers.
also.
Well, Dan, we had them at the bottom of the division last year. We both agreed that they were going to be in the bottom of the division.
Yep.
First, I want to ask you, how did Bryce Young look for, going from starter to being benched, being brought back? He looked pretty good at the end of the season.
I'd say
Dan.
he looked better at the tail end of the season last.
Yeah.
Because I know he got benched. They brought him back in his last 3-4 games, or whatever. He played well.
He did.
He only had 2,400 yards,
Mhm.
14 games, above 60% completion, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks.
Mhm.
sacked 29 times. It's not horrible.
Right.
He also had 249 rushing yards and 6
Mhm.
touchdowns.
Mhm.
That's not bad. Chuba Hubbard had a real good year for them, but I thought Bryce Young did look better. I think Dalton's a good backup to have. But I thought Young looked a lot better towards the end of the season.
Agree.
But they
Agree.
need to get him. Like, they don't have like much weapon wise. They got Hubbard, Miles Sanders, Thielen, old. Leggett is the only young guy they have.
Hmm.
They need a weapon probably, but he
Yeah,
did all right, I think. They
I
don't have
agree.
much though. They don't have a lot.
I agree. They didn't have the weapons then. I mean, Xavier Leggett, he's one of the high flyers. He's a young rookie this year.
Yeah.
He looked great. Adam Thielen's, he's up there, man. He's, he might be getting the AARP, card pretty soon. And Jalen Coker was not the greatest, pickup from them as well. But
Nope.
running backs, I mean, Chuba Hubbard played okay. Miles Sanders basically never even seen the field. I actually thought that Jonathan Brooks would be seeing the field from Texas a lot more, but he was injured, Dan.
Yeah, he only played 3 games.
Yeah, yeah.
Brooks.
Mhm.
Brooks is healthy. That might be a good addition. But Hubbard is good. Sanders is all right. Young was their second. That'd be a good pick for them. I really think
It
they
would.
need another real good weapon for Young.
Yeah, I mean, Drake May's a good
Because
quarterback. They got to get the ball downfield, so McMillan would be
Thielen,
great.
Leggett, Coker, Johnson, Moore, it's not very desirable.
It's not.
Spread the
It's
ball
not.
around a lot, though. I mean, you had guys,
Mhm.
6 guys with 30 or more receptions.
Agree. I think. Well, do you go offensive line to protect Bryce Young? Now, the thing is, they just
Maybe.
signed Andy Dalton to a 2-year contract, Dan. So does that
I
mean
think
you
that's
put a?
I think signing Andy Dalton is smart. He played well.
But is that
I
a
think
short
it
leash? Is
makes
that a
sense.
short leash again for Bryce Young?
Yes.
Really?
I
Okay.
think Bryce Young's gonna have to play well. I think they signed Dalton if they were fully confident in Bryce Young, they make it rid of Dalton, but also you see how valuable having a good backup is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
having a good backup, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense for them. In case he gets hurt, in case he doesn't play well, you can fall back on Dalton and he'll play well. You give him another weapon,
Sure.
offensive line. You know, but they need a lot more from Bryce Young, obviously. But they don't have a lot of weapons, and we'll have to see what they do with free agency also.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the teams, Dan, where it's not just going to be one player away. They have to build through the draft and free agency as well. I mean,
We have
it's going
about
to be hard
19
for
million
them.
in cap space, and they're an older team
They are an
too.
older team. They are an older team. I mean, you're looking at the quarterback being one of the youngest, out there, Bryce Young still. But still, Dan, I think you might have. There's a lot of pieces that you need. You still need an offensive, a left guard that can control that there.
Yep.
Iwanku was okay. Wan Yu was pretty okay, but there's still a lot of holes in the offensive line, Dan, because there was a lot of times where he didn't get time to even make a read. The first read, Dan, they were on him right away. So I think the running backs are okay, Dan. I like Chuba Hubbard.
They only gave up. The team only gave up 29, 36 sacks.
That's not
the
bad,
whole
though.
year.
That's not bad, though, really, if you think about it,
29 for Young and 7 for Dalton.
That's not bad. Then you know what? Then you know
Not
what?
bad.
Maybe you take the flyer on McMillan then. You know what I mean?
I think one of the obvious things they need on offense is a weapon. Leggett could be good, but they need like a guy like McMillan.
Yeah.
Impact player instantly at the wide receiver position. I think that would help their offense a lot. You have Chuba Hubbard and help Bryce Young also, and Dalton if he has to play.
Yeah, because I don't think Thielen's number one wide receiver. If you get a number one, let's say you
Thielen's
get a
old
McMillan.
now.
Yeah, you get a McMillan, you move him over to the one. Xavier Leggett's going to be your number 2. And then you throw in, a slot wide receiver. Say in the second round, if you want another weapon, you go get the Respo from Miami, a slot receiver.
Restrepo, yep.
Restrepo. Then you go out and get him in the second round because he's projected second, third round right now. That would be a steal right there if you go out and get, McMillan number 1, and then you come back with Restrepo from Miami. That would give you the offensive weapons with the running back like Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks coming back healthy. I'd be okay with that if they did that. I'd be okay with that.
Thielen's 34 years old.
Yeah, he's up there. Yeah.
But we'll have to see. I mean, it could possibly be they're going to have another bad year again.
I agree. I think they'll be top 10 in draft. Yeah, I think they'll be a top 10 in draft again.
They'll be top 10 draft again, and they'll have to get some impact players and have a really solid draft.
Mhm.
and we'll see what they do in free agency. They've had a couple of people in free agency. I don't know who the free agency receivers are, but
Mhm.
with 19 million cap space, I don't think they're going to be able to afford one of the big receivers.
Yeah. I mean, their defense was okay though. Yeah, just like Eddie says, their defense was pretty solid. I mean, I can't go
Yep.
wrong with their defense. They're
You
actually
get an
a
offensive
better.
weapon if it's the best player available, get a defensive player in the second
Mhm.
round.
Now, the one player that I can see, Dan, that they can let go is Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, his price tag
Yeah,
is
he's
really high,
on
Dan.
unfortunately like Jadeveon Clowney's long in the tooth also.
What's that? Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Like
I would let him go. I would let him go and just get the cap
five
space
and a
right there.
half sacks is 32. Yeah, I would let him go. So I would.
Yeah,
They need to clear some cap space. We'll see where they're at, but 19 million is not horrible.
it's not horrible.
Uh, but
No,
I but I don't see them having a great year next year also. But as
agreed.
long as they can build pieces on basically your third year, Bryce Young has to have a solid season. Like he's got to
Agreed.
have a good season. Your third season, if you give him another weapon, your offensive line seems to be okay. And
Hmm.
your defense seems to be okay. He's got to perform. He can't have 2,500 yards again. And
Yeah,
that's not very impressive. 14 games, that's still not impressive.
yeah,
Very
exactly. I
much at
mean,
all.
you're barely hitting 125 a
Although he
game,
looked
Dan.
better. Yeah, he
Yeah,
looked better.
the back half of the season, he
But
did look good. Like he was
but
actually
maybe that's
playing.
what it is. Maybe he'll continue that momentum and start playing well to start the
Mhm.
season.
Yeah, like the back half, he played for a reason, Dan. When he came out there, maybe it was, okay, you know what? This is my last really shot here. I got benched. Dalton comes in, wins his first game, then loses the next three. I get the job back. I got to show you something. But at least he did do something, Dan, where a lot of these younger quarterbacks, Dan, they could have just, say, screw it. I don't care. I lost my job. I'm not even going to compete. Why go back in there? But he
Yeah, it
did
was
play,
impressive.
Dan.
It was good that he played well when he came back.
Yeah, agree.
And he
Agree.
must have learned something or had a different mindset. And sometimes you just have to be sat down for 3 games or so. You come back and
Agree.
you see if you do well. I thought he did well when he came back toward the end of the season.
Agree. I think he played well, at the back half of the season, which I'm okay with. He's still young, what we call, wet behind the ears, Dan. He is still young, but you got to give him weapons, Dan. You can't give him a 35-year-old wide receiver and have him look great. You can't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, they're good in the
Not
run
going to
back
happen.
part. Chuba Hubbard only had 250 carries on over 1,100 yards and
Yeah,
10
but
touchdowns.
he was their workhorse on offense, Dan. It was really a one-man show because Leggett, they
And
really didn't even
250
use
is
at
not
all.
bad. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, they didn't wear him down. I mean, just imagine if they would have had a 1-2 combo with him and Brooks, Dan, because Sanders barely even played, Dan. He didn't do anything this year.
Yeah,
You
look for
know?
Brooks. Probably if he could stay healthy. That's good. The only thing I could be concerned about if he could stay healthy all year, him and Brooks would be solid. Yeah,
Exactly.
so they have a good
Exactly.
run game at least to help you on that. I need another weapon.
Hmm.
And you know, let's see. What's up, Larry? What's going on? What's going
Hey, make
on?
sure you check out Larry over Tuesday night on the Part-Time Marks talking WWE wrestling, NXT wrestling. Great add to our network here. So make sure you check that out as well. Yeah, also he hops on the Atomic Drop Saturday days to help us out as well. Great guy. Actually, another Dallas Cowboy fan, Dan. Can you believe that?
I do believe that.
I know. Hey, listen, we're trying to hide right now, Dan. But speaking of hiding, Dan, I really want to hide because last year the next team we're going to talk about is the Atlanta Falcons, Dan. I thought this team was going to make a stride, Dan. I thought this team would win the division. I
Almost.
thought this team would get to the playoffs. Dan, what in the hell happened?
Let's see. I mean, I thought they started well. They were at
Yeah, they
5
started
and
well.
2,
5-2 in the
5
beginning,
and
yeah.
3,
Mhm.
6, 7 and 3 after the Dallas game. They lost to the freaking Saints.
Yeah, that's when it all fell apart, Dan.
2017. They got killed by the Broncos, lost to the Chargers, lost to the Vikings, got
Mhm.
killed by us.
Yeah.
We kicked, yeah. Oh, no, they killed us. What am I saying? They played the best against us. They lost to Washington, lost to Carolina. They lost their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games.
Well, let's talk about one person, Dan, in particular. The
Kirk
big prize,
Cousins.
exactly. Thank you, Dan. Let's talk about it. He gets paid wherever he goes. He beats the system. He gets the big contracts. He goes
Uh-huh.
to Atlanta. He has the weapons, Dan. Bijan Robinson, Drake London. They got Daryl Mooney. They got Ray McLeod. They got Allinger as a backup running back. They
They're
got Kyle
loaded.
Pitts. They're
Loaded
loaded,
weapon-wise,
Dan.
man.
They're loaded,
Loaded.
Dan. Loaded. what happened with Kurt? Is it just primetime Kurt or everyday Kurt that didn't show up? How not with Kirk Cousins? I agree. That's what we're talking about, Larry. That's what we're talking about right now. Kirk Cousins. I mean, Dan, what was it? Okay, give him the pass maybe a little bit and say new OC, new system,
Yeah.
new scheme. But Dan, I think I could go out there with Pitts, London, Bijan, Mooney. I think I could win one game, Dan. Just give me a couple
Bijan
seconds.
Robinson had 3 to 4 carries, 1,400 yards, 4.8 average, 14 touchdowns. Algeria
Tyler Algier. Mm-hmm.
Also had average 4.7 yards a carry, 644 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So the running back is good. I'll get to your comment in a minute, Larry. Drake London, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. Mooney had 992. The 2 guys, McLeod and Pitts, had 600. He touched. So their weapons are loaded. Hold on a second. I'll talk about Penix in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. That's bad. Larry Burks is bad play calling, to be honest. They made him a statue, and that's not how he should be. He's more of a bootleg quarterback. Yeah. Even though Cousins can run, I think that
but he did have that. You got to. I'm not trying to defend him.
He had some bad games though.
He came off that Achilles, Dan. You can't get him out of the pocket because he can't coming off an Achilles. You can't. He had to play as a statue, Dan. You wanted to protect him.
At least this year, maybe he wasn't confident in it, but still, I mean,
that's what I think. That's what I think. You're coming off an
he
the
did
ACL.
All right.
Yeah,
he had a 66% completion percentage, 3,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 picks, 28 sacks, sacked 28 times. That's not horrible, but they just had some brutal games the last 5.
Oh, agree.
Because they had opportunities. They had opportunities the last 5 games, and they couldn't buy a win. Washington, the Carolina, you could have won. The Jags, they got destroyed by the Jags.
Yeah.
But I think Penix was playing some of these games also.
Yeah, I think he was starting the last 7 or 6 games or something like that. Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do, Dan? Do you move on from? Okay, first of all, what team is going to take Kirk Cousins? What contract or what team is going to take Kirk Cousins' contract? No one, Dan. No, you're stuck. You're in the same situation as Dallas Cowboys. You're stuck with Dak Prescott's contract. He's not going anywhere. You eat the dead space. Nobody still wants to take over a $40 million contract. Has showed you nothing, Dan, in Kirk Cousins.
And they're negative $9 million cap space.
It's insane.
But the good thing, but also like Cousins, but I thought Penix played well too. I thought he played pretty solid. Got learn a little bit, but that might be their guy. If they got where Cousins, Penix would be their guy. They're not going to draft a quarterback, I don't think.
No, I think
because they're not in position, but they have great weapons. Their weapons are outstanding.
Yeah.
Good quarterback play, they'll get wins. I think they probably need more work on their defensive side of the ball.
Dan, I think it's already set in stone. I think Penix is going to be the future. I mean, you took him at 8, Dan.
Absolutely.
Right after you signed Kirk Cousins.
I would have been happy with him at 6. He's probably the most talented quarterback in the draft last year. He just has the injury history. That's all. If he had any injury history, he's the number 1 pick last season.
He is.
I think he's number 1.
He is just like Jay Daniels. Yeah, he's just like Jay Daniels, a 6-year starter, Dan. You know what I mean? He's been there. He's a veteran as a rookie, coming in there. I think it is. He has the keys to the Cadillac now. I think it is his team. He has the weapons, Dan. But what do you do around him? Do you put a offensive line that's going to help him out? Because I don't agree offensive line. I think this offensive line was good because just like you said, when you have 2 running backs that run over 2,000
32 sacks.
Not bad, Dan.
32 sacks.
And they did push the ball. They did push the ball downfield, Dan. I think
they can run the ball at will. They can
exactly.
run the ball at will, and you have London, Mooney, McLeod, and Pitts. Like those 4 guys are great, really good weapons.
Yeah,
they're probably they got good quarterback play and better defensive play. They could win the division next year. I think they're that talented.
Do you have their draft pick up, Dan? Where are they drafted at? I mean, they got to be right around Carolina, right? Being 5 and 12. Well, they're 7 and they're 8 and 9. They're 8 and 9, so they're probably going to be maybe 9th or 10th, 9th, 10, 11. Wait, how are they 15? Oh, that's right. That's right. The Cowboys are 7-10. We're worse
They're
than that.
15. Yeah,
Okay, so I was
15
gonna say,
pick.
okay, all right. So you know what? I would probably go best defensive player available, Dan.
And
That's
they
where I'm
need,
going.
it says they need interior offensive line, tight end, cornerback, linebacker, safety. So I think they're going to address the defense. I think they'll take best player available at 15. They need
You know,
defense. Offense,
okay,
I think is good.
I can agree with that. I mean, you got Grady Jarrett, you got Odie Mata, you got Zach
Depends on
Harrison.
who falls.
Exactly. I mean, I like Judon playing right, right side linebacker, defensive end. I like him. I
Yep,
think
he's good.
AJ Terrell's a good
Alford
corner.
is
I like
good.
him. Yeah, I
Yep.
like AJ Terrell as a corner. I like him.
Yeah, Bates.
Mike Hughes is young though. I might go corner if one lands here.
Actually, you know what? They're loaded at they're not good about cornerbacks, actually.
What's that?
Bates at safety, Alford, Hughes, Terrell.
Their safeties are fine, Dan. Their safeties are
Their
fine.
safeties are
Bates
fine.
and
Yep.
Simmons are fine. But I'm talking Mike Hughes might be the weak link there. Maybe a corner drops there. You go out and get that, late 15 pick at corner. I mean, look at the Eagles hitting on Quinton Mitchell and Cooper DeJean last year. You know what I mean? Two starting corners
Bates
there.
is a good safety. He had 4
Oh
picks,
yeah,
so
agree.
I think they're not going to draft a wide receiver. That wouldn't make any sense. They've got 3 really good ones.
No. I think they stay away from offense. I think they do go defense, but I think it's best player available on defense, Dan.
Because offensively, who knows? Maybe they just stick with Cousins, but they're going to have to do something to get under the cap, and you have to sign your draft class.
Well, your draft class costs you between $12 and $15 million, depending on where you pick.
And they don't even have that. They're going to have to clear $25, $30 million of cap space just to get even.
And that's not going to be just be Kirk Cousins, Dan, because the dead space is going to eat half that, and that contract is going to be bitten, and another team's not going to take that. So that's not going to put you.
Yeah, I was wondering what this comment is.
The Raiders as a bridge QB. Josh, explain what that means. The Raiders as a bridge QB.
Yeah, because we're not necessarily talking about the Raiders. I was curious what,
as a bridge
the Raiders.
QB.
I got no idea what the Raiders are going to do. I got no fucking idea.
A lot of holes out there. I think they're just going to wait until everything falls. See how it plays
we'll
out.
talk about the AFC West a couple weeks probably.
Yeah. We're going division by division.
I'd say
from least to worst or least to best.
4 weeks or so, because we're going to switch back and forth. We're going to do NFC, AFC, NFC, AFC, and then we'll do our division last.
Because one of the teams won the Super Bowl, not us and not Dan's team.
Because we have a little bias, but whatever. Every fan is biased. Let's see. Aiden O'Connell is better than Cousins.
Yeah, let me ask you this, okay?
Cousins old.
What's that? What's that?
Cousins is old now.
He is too. But then I always bring up this question to a lot of people. Okay, Aiden O'Connell. He's a third-year quarterback, but if you would have moved him over to the Atlanta Falcons offense, Dan, with these weapons, with something that he did not have in Las Vegas, Devontae Adams didn't want to play. Brock Bowers is their number one guy out there. Devontae Adams didn't want to play. He gets traded. But what if you would have put Aiden O'Connell here? But how would that work out? I mean, and Kirk Cousins over to the Raiders. I think Kirk Cousins would have been dead.
Similar.
I agree. I wouldn't say. I still give the nod to Cousins. A healthy Cousins, I still give the nod to Cousins.
Yeah, healthy Cousins, I'll give the nod to him.
Because he did come off the ACL, Dan. He did come off the ACL. You know what I mean? He did.
And O'Connell got benched. But
very true.
Which was it? Was he hurt or benched? Because he only played 9 games played.
Who, Cousins?
O'Connell.
Dan, I don't even know what the hell's out. I don't even know what the hell out there, because you never knew who was playing quarterback. When I watched
Minshew and O'Connell.
Yeah, I was watching Ken's show, at Silver Black on our network, and Ken was like, "I don't even know who's playing quarterback."
I don't know.
Who knows? It's like a musical carousel. Dan, who's playing this week? Or Ken, who's playing? I don't know. I don't know.
I'll make one comment about the Raiders, and then I'm going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Will they trade up for a quarterback? What's their cap space?
They have a lot of money, Dan. They have a lot. I think they're like 70-some million, Dan.
That's good.
I think they move them. I think they stay where they're at.
Oh yeah, they have a
Was it 70-something million, wasn't it?
It's 95.
Oh, 90. Okay, I suppose the cap went up. 95.
95
Wow.
million, not because the cap went up.
Okay, well then you know what?
$95 million.
Okay, do you go out and
It's
get
a
your
lot.
franchise? Do you go out and get, because I see a lot of rumors that Shador might be dropping to them, Dan.
Possible. But what you get by us? I don't know about that. I don't see Sanders dropping. Someone will see it and trade up a spot to get him or something. If he's
Uh,
fifth, I might just swap picks because I think they're sixth.
I mean, just
I don't
imagine,
know.
Dan, if a
Maybe.
team ahead of you wants
I've
Shador
heard
Sanders.
that all offseason. I've heard, oh, he wants to be a Raider. His dad wants him to be a Raider. I've heard it all offseason. We've heard it. You know, oh, he wants to. I don't know. I have no idea.
So you don't believe in Shador Sanders wearing the red, white, and blue Giants shoes? I mean, you don't believe in all that?
I think if Sanders if Ward was gone and Sanders was there at 3, we're taking him. If Ward is there at 3, we're probably gonna take him. If that was the case, but that's a different story. When we talk about the Raiders, we'll discuss it. But it's very interesting. They have a lot of cap space, but
Yeah.
I'm the same as 10. I have no idea who's gonna play quarterback for them.
Me either.
No idea.
Me either.
It's not gonna be Minshew. It may not be either of them. I really can't say.
Agree.
We'll worry about when we talk about them.
We'll get back to the Falcons, Dan. I think the offense is set
Yeah.
here. I like the offense because you are built for the future with Penix. Bijan's a young dude. Mooney's, middle their class. Drake London's is still a young dude. Ray's, he's just a guy that can plug and play. Kyle Pitts really, Dan, you think about, even though he is, is what, 6th-year Kyle Pitts, Dan, he really doesn't have the tread on his tires because they never used them properly, Dan. He's still a young dude, really, if you think about it. You know what I mean?
And if Penix is playing, I think Pitts is deadly.
I think so too.
How accurate Penix is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's way more dangerous accuracy-wise than Cousins is, and he can move. Let's see. Hold on. I will worry. Like I said, I'll talk about the Raiders when we talk about the division, but I'm interested to see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But for the Falcons, Pitts really got the only 600-something yards, but they got a lot of weapons.
Yeah. Michael LaRue says, Brock Bowers and Michael Mayers from Notre Dame. Yeah, that's what got me. Even though we'll talk about them later. That's what got me too. They didn't use two. To me, they're the best tight end duo in the game. Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. They did not use them, Dan. I mean, there was packages where you should have been using these guys. If you can't get downfield, your tight end's your best friend. Check it down to the tight end. Run a slant. Run a curl route.
That's what you took Bowers for. You took them to use
them. Exactly.
It's probably their best weapon they had. I watched the Raiders so.
Yeah,
but the Falcons, I think the Falcons are a team. They have some improvements on defense. I think if Penix can play next year, if he's your starter, I think they could win that division.
I think they can. I think it all comes down to. I think to me, honestly,
8-9 is not bad.
Yeah, I think they're going to give Kirk Cousins a shot if they don't trade him for the cap reasons. See if they can get some money off him.
I could agree with that.
I think Penix is going to be built for the future, Dan. I think if he stays healthy and gets a system, goes back to that Indiana Michael Penix, that Washington Husky Michael Penix that we all seen, top quarterback in college football, regardless when you're running to a juggernaut like you did in the championship, you play that way, you have the weapons, just like you did at Washington, Dan. Open up the field, let him throw the ball downfield, protect him, let him roll out. But then again, Dan, you have to have a defense that can maintain a lower score than what the other team's going to put up.
They gave up 24 points a game.
You got to go defense, Dan, because this team can score, Dan. When they're on with a QB, they can score as a team, Dan. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, 46. Gave up 46 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Agree. Yeah, I think they have to go
the
defense.
Falcons, I think, are up and coming. I think they work on their defense. I think they're going to be the next couple of seasons. They're going to be they're going to be a playoff team either next year or the year after. I really think so.
Agree.
They've done a great job loading them up with weapons. Their offensive line seems to do well now. They took Penix, which I thought was a really good move.
Mm-hmm.
Risky, but I thought it was a good move. So the Falcons, I think, are definitely up and coming. They're on the way up from where they have been the past, your previous seasons.
Here's a comment. Michael Kaepernick checking in. We already talked about the Panthers, but answer this real quick. I'll let you start first. Do you think Bryce Young is the answer in Carolina?
I don't know. Bryce Young is gonna have to have a solid season.
Yeah.
But you also have to realize, I think that a reason he didn't have the best season, I'm not gonna say exactly, he got benched and didn't play well, but they don't have weapons. They don't have a lot of weapons to throw to.
Yeah.
If
I
I'm
mean,
talking like a Neighbors, like a CeeDee Lamb, they need an impact wide receiver.
Yeah.
That's really what Carolina, I think, needs. I think it was be smart for them to take one, and they're in the top 10.
I
So
agree. I mean, to me, if he played for the Atlanta Falcons with the weapons they have in the years that he had, he's gone right away with the weapons. But excuse me, just like you said, Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, it's not what you can win with, Dan. He did the best he
got a
could.
run game.
Oh,
Seem to
solid
have a
run,
good offensive line, but
solid run.
but I don't know. Maybe, but
Mhm.
when you don't play well your first year,
Yeah,
play horrible, and then you get benched your second year, even though you looked well, you're still in the middle there, 50-50. I don't know if he's the answer.
mhm.
I really don't know.
Yeah, I agree. You have to get some weapons out there. I mean, Xavier Legette's young, second year. Xavier Legette coming up here. That's fine. You can work with that. But just like you said, Thielen's 30, middle age 30 there. Coming off of
34. Thielen's
30,
34 years old.
still not what he should be. It's you
And he
gotta
had
have
that injury
weapons.
too a couple
Yeah.
years ago, so that slowed down. He's like I said, they need some weapons,
Mhm. And he they
especially
were
offensively.
and they were the quarterbacks, Dalton and Bryce Young didn't get sacked, like you said, a
Dalton
lot
Bryce
this
Young,
year. You know,
30,
and
29 times for
it's
Young,
not bad at
7 for
all.
Dalton. That's not
Not
bad.
bad. And you have the quarterback's best friend, Dan. You have a solid running game. Chuba Hubbard, 1,000
Yeah.
yards plus the season.
And
then
you
you
get
had
Brooks. If Brooks would stay
yeah,
healthy, they'll have a solid run game.
and then you have Jonathan Brooks coming off the injury fresh next year. So you have a 1 and 2 combo that can move the ball. So I think it's perfect for them. I just think you have to get weapons, Dan. If that's the thing you need. You have to get a weapon for Bryce Young. If you're
What's
gonna
up,
call him
Evan?
defensive.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, Ev?
Yep.
Evan,
It's like
I'm
I
sending you.
have to get weapons out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Evan, I'm sending you some of my snow out here, brother. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to send you about a foot of
Yeah.
snow.
Snowing here, but not that much.
Yeah, it's crazy here.
But the
Man.
Falcons, I thought, like I said, I think they got a real shot to win 10 games this next season. At least.
I'm going to go out there, Dan. I know we always get prediction our last, show of the season before we get there.
I would do that. I would do a prediction. I want to do it after. I think we should do a prediction after the draft.
Well, you know what? How about this year, Dan? We'll do one after the draft and right after OTAs preseason. Right after the preseason game, we'll do another one.
I can't make a prediction now because if I don't know who someone's quarterback's going to be with their rosters, I have no idea what to say.
See,
But
to me, I don't know.
But we get a better idea about the Falcons because they're not going to be getting rid of those weapons. They're
No,
going to have Penix, so they're going to be basically the same team. They're going to have a lot of turnover on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Those teams are easier to figure out. The Saints are hard to figure out. The Giants are hard to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
Teams with no quarterback are hard to figure out.
Yeah.
You just have no idea. So
And
we'll see.
it's not only the teams with a no quarterback. It's teams like the Falcons here. What are they going to do with Kirk Cousins? We don't know yet. Do they try to eat the dead
If
cap
someone
space?
will take his
ship him
contract,
off? Yeah.
I would do
If
it
somebody-
in a second.
If somebody will do it, you already got the quarterback that
It
you
better not
drafted.
be us. It's not going to be us. But if someone does it, hey, more power to you. If you want to offer me, I'm like, all right, take him. Take him.
Well, I mean, Dan, maybe you'll luck out just like the Russell Wilson deal. The Seahawks, the Broncos ate the entire contract. Dan, maybe you get lucky in a situation like that where you only paid him $2 million a year. Then you take a flyer on him, Dan.
Yeah, but if he's taking like the vet minimum or close to it, then yeah, I'll do that. Let's say so Bryson is 5'10", 205. I think that's exaggerating.
I think the
14
way
games.
I think the weight is exaggerating. I think he's still less than 200. That might be wet too. But the thing is, they didn't run him a lot. They didn't ask him to run, Dan. That's the thing. If you look
He
at
had,
Alabama, you look at
43
Alabama.
carries, 249 yards.
Well, I mean, he ran when he had to get out. I think it was more of a escape stand. It wasn't designed like a Jalen Hurts or anybody like that. You go back to his Alabama days, Dan.
Only
He didn't
thing
run the
I
ball.
liked about him.
What's that? His size?
His size. That's the only thing if he was like
Yeah.
230, but he's still gonna play well regardless.
But
Gabe Dales isn't that big and he played great. So
But to me, that's why you have to have weapons. You got to get this guy weapons because if you go 3rd and 5,
Yep.
the breaks down, yeah, you're going to carry the ball and get a first down. But he didn't do this in college, Dan. He didn't do this at
I
Alabama.
I
He
think
didn't
if
need to.
I think if McMillan is there, they'll take him.
You have to go wide receiver, Dan.
I
You have to.
Impact, tall, impact player automatically, and that would be much better for their offense.
Mhm. But to answer the question, I do think he can hold up if they keep him in the pocket and just move him right to left and don't
Yeah, but
ask him to
not
run.
not but you can't hold up doing a read options, and that
Oh,
you can't hold
no,
up doing
no.
that, no.
But like he does have the team to do that. Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks. I mean, they're both
He's
those
the
kind of
type of
RPO running
quarterback
backs.
to roll out the pocket and run for a first down, run out of bounds, and slide.
And the crazy thing is, Dan, watching college football, the team that he had at Alabama,
Oh,
we know what he can do with the weapons around him, Dan. Just
yeah.
imagine, we know what he can do. And
Yep.
regardless of the size, 5'10", 205, wet, if even that. But just imagine the weapons that he had. The kid has, you give him time, Dan, he has a deep ball that's very accurate. Even in the middle, the mediocre, the mid game, the long game, he is a
It
quarterback who can
does.
get the ball downfield, Dan. But you've got to give him weapons and time in the pocket, Dan. You have to.
Yeah, so like I said, we'll see what Carolina does. Obviously, they're not gonna take quarterback, they're gonna keep Bryce Young one
Mhm.
more year, but like I said, he's gotta have a good year, and we'll see how they do, and, that's all I'm gonna say about the Panthers at the moment because we did a whole segment about them.
Yeah, exactly. We're back on him now. Well, let's move on to the last team here, Dan. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dan. Let's talk about them.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a good year, Baker Mayfield had another outstanding season,
Yeah.
and I can't for the life of me figure out why Joe Shane didn't go out and get Baker Mayfield 2 years ago. Would have been the smartest freaking move. But anyway,
But
yeah,
Dan,
but he had
but
go
Dan,
ahead.
Dan, let me ask you, do you really think Baker Mayfield did you really expect Baker Mayfield to play lights out like he did last year and this year? I didn't, Dan. I did not. I was never sold on
I
Baker.
I did not, but I think he'd be damn good with Malik Neighbors. That's all I'm saying, and Bijan and Robinson, and, I just think he'd be good with those 2. But Baker Mayfield had an excellent year, 41 touchdowns, 16 picks, 4,500 yards,
Yeah.
threw 570 times, played every game,
Mhm.
didn't miss a game. So, obviously, they got their quarterback, and Irving had a great year for a rookie. He was a rookie, right?
Oh, yes, Bucky from Oregon
Like,
was
Bucky
nasty.
Irving,
Yeah.
5.5 carries.
Hmm.
207 calories, 1,122 yards, and 5.4 calorie.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 yards on only 200 calories.
Hmm. Yep.
But Bucky Irving had some huge games, 8 touchdowns.
Hmm.
Even White did well. He had 4.5 yards a carry, 613 yards, 3 Baker Mayfield 378.
Hmm.
The receiving core is good. I mean, even Evans still had 1,000 yards, and he played 14 games. So I liked him. Yeah, Godwin got hurt when I was out the
Yeah.
season, I think.
That was devastating, Dan.
Um,
That knee pop. Oh my God, Dan. That was so. I actually shed a tear for that one, Dan.
I
I did.
like Otten, their tight end. I think
Oh,
he's
Kate
got
Otten's good. Kate Otten's really good. I
had
love him.
600 yards. That's solid for a tight
Mhm.
end.
Yep.
They were good. I mean, the Buccaneers are definitely going to be a playoff team next year. I don't think they'll have a lot of rollover. What's their
They
cap
were what?
space?
I don't even know what their cap space is. Now, I think, Dan, I mean, I think the defense
Four,
is solid. I think their
four,
defense is
four
solid.
point eight, 4.8 million cap space.
So they're really low as well. Okay.
But they don't need a lot. The Bucks
No,
don't need a ton. That's the thing about them. They don't need a whole lot.
mhm.
They
I
don't
agree.
need real weapons.
Well,
They
I
need
think they do.
defense,
I
I
think I
think.
think they do. I don't think Godwin's going to be
Think
coming
so?
back, Dan. I don't think Godwin's coming back after the injury, Dan.
Yeah.
I mean, that was life-threatening. Well, not want to say life-threatening. He's alive, but season-ending, Dan. Not season-ending, career-ending. Let's put it that way.
Career ending.
I mean, I think it
Yeah.
was, Dan. I think you really have to go out and get a weapon here that you can. You're not going to move Sterling Shepard up to the starting spot, even though he could on many teams. But he's not going to be that Godwin slot guy, Dan.
Sterling Shepard
And then
is like a role player. He's a good
exactly, yeah.
complimentary wide receiver
Mhm.
for another guy I have, but the Bucks are. Jeez, hold on.
And
Wait a
the thing
minute.
is, Mike Evans is not a young cat anymore, Dan. You know what I mean?
Not 19.
They're 19.
That's their pick. Yeah.
Okay, well, Dan, let's. I'm gonna throw on it. I know we don't talk about drafts, but there's a name that we talked about with another team. What about Xavier Respro right here? A slot receiver,
Restrepo?
Dan.
Yeah. That would be
Yes,
a
this
real
might
good
make
pick for them,
sense.
I think.
I mean, this guy's a
Um,
slot wide receiver. Then you move Shepard to the outside and you bring him in the middle. Mike Evans is still going to demand a double team, Dan. And when you have Xavier in the middle, one-on-one, he can beat a safety. He can beat a linebacker. He can beat a corner.
Comment here. Michael says, I used to kill Baker the last couple of years. Yeah, I'm telling you, the last 2 seasons, I think it's an example your situation and where the situation you're in and the team around you. Because he was on some pretty awful football teams, Baker Mayfield.
I still look at the days of Cleveland, Dan, like, oh man, this guy, is it him? Is it the system? Is it the coach?
Now that he's playing well, it's so good. It wasn't him. It was Cleveland, and Cleveland is where you're going to die.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, what's the last good quarterback? Vinny Testaverde?
Oh,
for
God.
the Browns? Like that was actually worth something that was actually solid.
Wow.
In like 88? Am I correct? Am I right about that?
Wow.
Derek Anderson, Brady Quinn.
Oh, don't talk about Brady Quinn. Please don't bring up Brady Quinn. Brady Quinn was like one of the biggest busts to me.
Oh my
ever.
Goodness. Have you seen the line of quarterbacks that Brad's have had? Oh my goodness gracious.
Hell, I was going to say Brandon Weeden. Remember him?
But Baker Mayfield, he'll probably finish his career there. And I think if they could improve another weapon, and if they didn't lose Godwin, I thought they might have went further. But I think
Godwin was huge. Godwin was
could be a surprise in the playoffs because I think they're a very talented football team.
Yeah, Godwin was a huge loss to them, Dan. Huge loss to them.
Huge loss. He was on a monster year too. Oh, we got some comments. Luther Burden to Tampa Bay.
Could be there. I agree.
Let's see.
Oh, this is a good one right here. And you know what the thing is, Dan? I'll go first with this one. I'll go first with this one. I think it could be a good solution because Mike Evans, he is the true one. Cooper Kupp really isn't the one wide receiver anymore. He's a complementary wide receiver. Look at Nika, how he took over, the number 1 spot out there and pushed, Cooper to the 2 spot, really almost to the 3rd spot, really, if you think about it. But he would complement Mike Evans so well, Dan. He would.
Yeah. Also, you're going to be trading for Cooper Kupp because he's under contract.
Does he have a couple? Does he have a year left?
But I've read Kupp and Stafford could be a package deal. Also.
Yeah, but then he's not going to Tampa Bay because you're not going to give up Baker Mayfield.
No.
Not at all.
But what would you give up for Kupp? And I think they can either draft one if one falls because there could be receivers there. They can sign free agents. They got plenty of cap space.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they sign a free agent instead. Maybe they go after a big free agent in the wide receiver position.
But you don't have that money, Dan. You're only at $4 million.
$4 million. That's right.
You really can't get that top free agent because a wide receiver is going to cost you at least $10 to $12 million a year. You're not going to have the money once you sign your rookies.
Then you could trade for Kupp or you could draft a wide receiver. I don't think they really need it, but
let me ask you
would be good.
Let me ask you, if it was a single deal for Cooper Kupp, what are you willing to give up to complement Mike Evans there? Because you lost Goodwin, career ending most likely. What would you give up?
A first round pick?
No, I'm not. No, he's not. No, Cooper Kupp's not going to demand a first round pick. I'll slam the phone down on that one. But would you give up a second? Would you give up a second? I wouldn't go second. I'd go 3rd or 4th. Is the best I'm giving.
Like a 3rd and a 5th round pick or something.
Because he didn't play every game last year, Dan, and he wasn't the best receiver on the field either.
Yep, I like this comment though.
Mbukike. Dan, I'll tell you a funny story. You guys know that I was out of my house for about 5 months, basically. And I was in Altoona, PA, where I was staying at the hotel for about 3 months. And I went to the Ohio State-Penn State game, okay? And at my hotel, every morning they had a big complimentary breakfast, home-cooked meal, everything. And I go there right before the game. I went to the Penn State-Ohio State game. I go eat breakfast, and I'm sitting there, and I have my eggs and hot sauce. This lady in front of me, I think I told you this, Dan, a group chat I told everybody. I'm getting my eggs. I put my hot sauce on my eggs.
Yep.
I turn around. This lady hits my plate, and it falls. And I'm not a Penn State fan. I had a Penn State jersey on because I went with a friend. This lady in front of me knocks my hand, spills my eggs all over me. I have hot sauce all over my jersey. The lady looks at me. She's like, "Oh, my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Oh, you're an Ohio State fan. Figures." Dan, you know who it was? Well, I think you know, but it was Mbukike's mother. She was staying at the hotel I was staying. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I didn't know who it was at first. She's like, yeah, my son plays for Ohio State. I'm like, oh, congratulations. I'm thinking like, okay, the kid's a scrub. She was a white lady, Dan. She's white. His mother's white. So I didn't know that. And his dad is, black, of course, Haitian, whatever. He's sitting over there laughing. And as she turns around, it says number 2 Mbukake's mother on the back of the jersey.
That's
And
cool.
I went over to it and I was like, listen, I'm a huge college football fan. Your son is really probably one of the top 3 wide receivers in the nation. Congratulations. Hope he makes it to the NFL. We go to the game, Dan. The first touchdown of the game, Mbukake scores.
Yeah,
Right.
the long one.
Yes. I was like, what are the odds of that? What are the odds of that? You know, like I couldn't believe it.
All right, I'll get to some comments here. Hold on. I've heard this already. I've heard this rumor for like 2 weeks.
It's going to cost you a lot of money and some draft picks, Dan.
Well, Stafford, I'm not giving him a number 1 pick, but he'll get $26 million next year. But still, I don't think the Giants should do that. Let's see. I would like Stafford if it doesn't cost me a lot. I would get him, but because the Giants can have upward of $70 million if they make some moves and restructure some contracts and stuff like that. Trade Thibodeau. Oh, okay.
Stafford to mentor Sanders for a year. What do you think about that?
I would just play him, but that's me.
Play him. Throw him to the wolves. Throw him out to the fire.
A third rounder. And a 5th and a 4th. For Stafford? I'd give him a 2nd or 1st round pick for Stafford at 37.
I think he's going to demand probably a 3rd or 4th. I don't think he can go for a 4th or 5th because he's still a hell of a quarterback.
He only makes $26 million, I think, in 2025.
Yeah, but Dan, when a quarterback's coming off his last years in the NFL, he wants that contract that's going to give him 2 to 3 years guaranteed money. And it's going to cost you more than that. He's not going to make 26. And Dan, he is a good quarterback, though. I mean, he was 15 yards. Good. He was 15 yards away from really beating the Eagles, Dan. 15 yards away from beating the Eagles in the playoffs.
Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah,
15 yards away from beating the Eagles in the playoffs.
Oh, the Eagles are fortunate. That game was too close for comfort, man.
It was. I mean, whew, wow.
But Stafford, I think for us, we had a ton of cap space. I'd do it, but we'll have to see about that. Like I said, we'll talk about our team like 8 weeks from now, 7 weeks from now. But for the Bucs, I see them being a playoff team again. I don't see why not.
My cat just jumped up.
Yeah, good defense, and they have Clancy with 7.5 sacks.
Yeah.
He went to Pitt, the defensive tackle. He's one of the guys I wanted. They have good pass rush. I mean,
and Dan, I'll tell you what, I think they had the best nose tackle in the game. Vita Vea is still the best nose tackle in the game. Yep. He can control a game, Dan. That dude can control a game.
And Clancy.
Logan Hall's good too. I love Logan Hall as well. I think they're back in Jamel Dean, Jordan Whitehead, Antonio Winfield Jr. I think they're solid on defense.
David, obviously. Levante David, obviously, is real good.
Hell yeah. Linebacker, I think they're set on defense.
So I don't see, barring any injuries, I don't see them not being a playoff team next season. In that division especially.
Yeah, I think they're solid on defense. I think to me, the obvious choice, best wide receiver available. Because, like I said, Godwin, Dan, I don't know if he's going to be playing this year, honestly, coming off. I mean, when your bone pops out of your leg, that's serious, Dan.
Yeah, that's probably the worst fracture. It's like, do you remember college basketball? There was a guy in like Indiana or something.
No, it wasn't Indiana. It wasn't Indiana. It was I know exactly what you're
stopped his bone would pop out. Oh my goodness gracious!
And that wasn't even an on-ball thing, Dan. It was like on the side of the court when he just moved.
He didn't even get
the whole knee popped. Yeah, I remember that. I remember watching that game.
His leg.
Yeah, I remember watching the entire game. When
I wish the best for Godwin. I mean,
yeah,
who knows? Depends on how he heals.
I agree. I mean, the one thing, Dan, late in the draft, I do think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go out and get a late round quarterback because Kyle Trask and Michael Pratt are not the answers to the backup. They're just going to hold clipboards for the rest of their life. I think you go out and maybe what, Dan?
Maybe that's where Dark goes.
This is where I could see McCord, because he really prototypes Baker Mayfield. A great down ball, shows leadership, very accurate. This could be the place for him, Dan.
That's a guy I would like because we're the second pick in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
I might take McCord if he's there. If we don't got a quarterback,
I think he's a dark.
I don't think Hunter, but we'll talk about my team later on.
Yeah, I think he's a dark horse in the draft. Is Kyle McCord, Dan, at QB? I really do. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. Maybe I'm biased because I did see him play in high school for 3 years. Live.
We're gonna have pretty soon. You're gonna have free agency. The the combine, the pro
Mhm.
days.
Yep.
So after all that, we'll see, some quarterbacks McCoy can shoot up the board. Like he
Agree.
has a
Agree.
really good pro day, interviews really well, looks
Mhm.
impressive in the drills. He's one I think he should do all the drills at the combine and have a pro day, obviously,
Mhm.
without a doubt.
I agree.
And he
100%.
might shoot up the draft boards because you always have players that no one ever thinks of that all of a sudden, that people take a closer look. Well, I think he's higher than we thought.
Agree.
So, but
Agree.
the Bucks had an excellent season. Bayfield had another really good season. 41 touchdowns is impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and
Agree.
he's tough. That's what I like about him. And he could run.
Now, here's
So,
my question. Here's my question to you, Dan, before we, reveal where we're going to go next week and close the show here. Okay, we talked about the Atlanta Falcons. We know who the bottom two teams. Saints are in salary cap hell. The Panthers need weapons. They need pretty much everything on
man,
offense. Now, let's talk about the Falcons. We talked about them, but let me just throw this at you. Kirk Cousins comes back healthy with the weapons they have. They're solid. They need help on defense. Michael Penix is the future here. Either way that goes. Can they overtake the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the division
maybe.
next year? What do you think?
Well, there were 8-9. The Bucks were 10-7.
That's what I mean. One game away. And then they had to win that
Well,
last
that's
game.
not that far off.
And remember, the
No,
Buccaneers had to win that last game to get in the playoffs, Dan.
And remember, they had a string of 5 losses in a row and like 4 losses in a row. I think
Yeah.
the Falcons.
Yeah, exactly.
End of the
Yeah.
season, the Falcons lost their last 5 games of the season.
Yeah.
Ah,
And they were still into the last game of the season when they lost that last
That's
game.
right.
Tampa Bay, all they had to do was they didn't have to win the last game, but it came down to the last game of the season, Dan. If Falcons would have won that last game, Tampa Bay would have had to win that last game to get in the playoffs.
yeah, they went from 7-3 to 8-9.
Wow.
That's what they were.
1-8 and
Yeah,
1-7 in their last
lost to the
games.
Steelers,
Wow.
beat the Eagles,
It's amazing.
lost to the Chiefs by 5,
Agree.
beat the Saints, beat the Bucks. They beat the Bucks the first
Mhm.
time, 36-30 in that comeback. Beat the Bucks, the Cowboys.
Yeah. That was the game. That was the game that Dak
Yeah.
Prescott went down.
Yeah,
Dan.
beat the Bucks, beat the Panthers, lost to Seattle.
Mhm.
They actually beat them twice. They swept the Buccaneers.
Wow, that's amazing, though. That's amazing.
They won
You lose the division by one game.
36-30 and 31-26.
That's
to the
amazing.
Bucks.
You lose the division
swept
and
them.
you sweep you sweep the number one seed in the division. Well, your division, and you lose by one game, and you swept the Tampa.
And it's
You swept
actually
them.
quite
Wow.
insane. I think they should have just stuck with Cousins the rest of the way because they beat the Bucks again, beat the Cowboys, and they lost to the Saints, got destroyed by the Broncos,
But Dan
lost to the
okay,
Chargers, lost to the Vikings.
but Dan, didn't Kirk Cousins have an arm injury where he
Yes.
couldn't throw? That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the reason why he got benched. They should have rolled with him.
Maybe if
you know.
Cousins plays the rest of the year, maybe they make the playoffs. Maybe they go 10-7.
Because
But then they lost.
I think he did reveal it when he was playing hurt. He said he was playing hurt. That's because remember they said, why can't you get the ball downfield to the weapons? And it came out where he's having trouble throwing the ball, like a dead arm syndrome or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I was right. Yeah, they lost 4 in a row
Mhm,
to the Saints, Broncos, Chargers, and Vikings.
mhm.
Won 2 in a row and then lost their last 5. Oh no, wait, hold on. 8.
I thought it was
Yeah,
4 to 5. Was it 5?
I'm reading it wrong. I apologize.
Okay, 5 games. That's still bad though when you start out 7-3.
Still bad. 7-3. They end up 8-9.
Wow, let's talk about a tale of 2 seasons, man. Honestly,
But yeah, I think the Falcons, if they could stay healthy, improve their defense, I think they have a shot. Maybe
Agree.
they just stick with Cousins. It's possible.
Mhm.
Possible.
Well,
He's got a big contract. We don't got a lot of cap space. Makes sense.
I think you're married to him, honestly. But if it goes south and you get away, blessed that you get away from him, somehow somebody bites the contract
And
and
you can
takes it
fall
from
back
you,
on Penix.
you fall back on Penix. Dan, you drafted him at 8 last year. That was a shocker of the draft day. Michael Penix is taken by the Atlanta Falcons at 8.
Yep.
Who would have thought that? Nobody did, Dan.
So and they averaged like 29 points. Let's say not 22 a game, but like I said, they could make the playoffs with Cousins, a combination of Cousins and Penix. I
Agree.
think.
Agree. I think they can too. I think it's
So
going to
we'll
be a
see.
two-team race. Yep, I agree.
I
agree.
don't see the Saints being very good. I don't see the Panthers being very good based on the
No.
roster situation. The Panthers with their quarterback situation, the weapons.
hmm
The Saints are in cap hell. They're old, so like I said, we'll see. I think it's a two-team race. I agree with that.
Agree.
So
Agree.
we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out.
Yep. Well, before we go, got a couple things to read real quick. If you need a lawyer out there, if you're in the tri-state area, make out to reach out to Jason Fine, 1-800-HURT-123, attorney Big Al, great friend of mine, my former boss. I actually still work for him, so make sure you reach out to him. Motor vehicles, wax, slip and fall, workman's comp, first range claims, 3 convenient locations in Philadelphia, Cherry Hill, and in my neck of the woods, Pittsburgh, PA. Make sure you reach out to him for your injuries. 1-800-HURT-123, no recovery, no fee. And you mentioned Out of the Box Sports Entertainment to one of the live operators who take your case. It might even be me once in a while who answers the phone. If we take your case, you'll get the family rate 33 1/3% guaranteed, no recovery, no fee. And last but not least, here's our schedule. Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. There is one change is tomorrow. The Silver and Black Kings will be on tomorrow at noon. Ken Fry talking LA Kings. He's going to have Connor Doyle, a beat reporter for the Las Vegas Kings out there tomorrow. So make sure you check that out tomorrow night. Saturday, the Atomic Drop's going to round out the entire week at 9 p.m. But make sure you follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, everywhere out there. Subscribe to it. Tell a friend. Share it out there. Get our name out there. We appreciate what we do. We love what we do, and we do it for you. So, Dan, where are we going to go next week?
We'll do AFC South.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that last thing.
That's how we'll do. We'll do, each region. We'll go back and forth. Then we'll do like then we'll do like the NFC West, AFC West.
AFC
like
South, huh?
Go back and forth. Yep.
Sounds good.
We'll stay in the South.
How about you give me a cliffhanger next week on AFC South? Who's your most disappointing team in that division, Dan? Based on last year, what we thought.
I totally forget. Hold on. Hold on. AFC West was good, man.
Yeah.
I'll probably save that. I'm gonna say the South is probably the worst division, but disappointing.
Yeah, who's your most disappointing team in that game? Who's that?
Hold on.
I'm just gonna say the Texans. I thought they would be a lot better.
I'm gonna say the most disappointing team, the Jets.
In the AFC South.
AFC South?
Yeah. I'm gonna go Texas. I thought they were a lot better what they did, especially going out and getting Stephon Diggs.
I'd say the Texans, the Colts were 8-9. That's not bad.
It's not bad.
Giants were horrible, and the Titans were horrible.
Horrible. Yeah. Wow. I didn't just give you a thing. I didn't think the Jaguars before at 4 wins, Dan. I really didn't. But you know what? There's a new coach out there. They're rebuilding.
Another thing with the Saints, they have a rookie head coach. Head coach, Kellen Moore, I don't know how he's going to do. No idea.
Well, you got to give him a 3 to 5 year window, Dan. I mean, I think that was on the table when he walked in there. I can't win with this team. You're $54 billion in the cap space, negative here. You don't have any weapons. I got a quarterback that I don't know I can win with. Don't expect me to win this year with the team that I have. You got to give me a 3 to 5 year window. And
that's the reason.
And I make the decisions.
That's the reason I wanted Dable to stay another year, give him those 3 years.
You have to. I think coaches are given the scapegoat, Dan, because you can't win.
They should have 3 years minimum. Period.
3 to 5 year window
minimum contract.
Your first year, okay, you know what? Get your draft pick, and you not tank it, but get your draft pick. Second year, you win 4. Get me 5 to 6 games. Your third year, this is your team in place. Just like college, you got juniors now that are playing with you. You built a team. This is your team. At least get me to 1 and 2 in the division. Then the 4th year, I need to be winning the division, Dan. The 5th year, that's when we compete. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But Dan, it is a pleasure doing the show with you, man. It's been a long time since we did a show together, and I can't wait now.
I haven't been on a stream in months.
I know. It felt good. Yeah, I did the Cowboy show last night. It released a lot of venting. I feel okay now. I was about to call Dr. Phil, but I'm okay now. Now we're talking about all the other divisions, Dan, which is good because it shows us that no matter what, Dan, we're not the worst team in the NFL. Okay, we're not. We're not the
Oh,
worst team. We're pretty
uh,
close, Dan, but we're not. You know what I mean?
I don't think we're the worst team either. We just have a quarterback, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, at least you
Oh,
got a GM and an owner, Dan, that stays out of meddling. You know what I mean? That's all I can say about that. But
yeah,
we don't. But yep. All right, Dan, are you ready to get out of here, brother?
absolutely. I gotta watch USA versus Canada tonight.
Yeah. Who are you taking in that game? Who are you taking?
USA, obviously.
I thought Canada would be
USA.
the favorite. I thought the Canada would be favorite though, but they're not.
Yeah. Oh well, the USA had some injuries. We'll see if their full roster plays. Like
Mhm.
Matthews will probably play.
Right.
Hopefully, Kachuk will play. So we'll see. I think the US wins in a close game. Should
You
be
think
fun though.
you think there's any fights this game? I mean, 3 in the first like 90 seconds of the game.
No, it'll be in the United States, so the anthem won't get booed. I think that's what pissed them off.
Oh, so you don't think
I think
anybody's gonna?
I think Canada booed the anthem, but the funny thing is, like those players who got in the fight, they all
Mhm.
agreed beforehand. Like Bennett
Okay.
and Trocheck said, "Oh, before the face-off, they agreed. All right, you want to fight?" And that was the first one. I didn't expect it to be three
Oh,
though. Three though
okay.
in 9 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. There's a prop
We'll
bet
see.
that says how many fights will there be in the first 90 seconds. I took 0. I can't see the championship
0.
game.
I don't
I
think
took 0.
I don't think they'll do that this time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well,
Remember, they
Dan,
also hadn't faced the pros hadn't faced USA Canada in a long time. So
that's true. That's
been
true.
years.
I think
All
I
right, then.
did. I think I did took USA plus 1.5. I was kind of scared. I think it's going to be either that or I took USA no tie no bet. If they win in overtime, the game I win that game. But if they tie it at third intermission, I lose or I tie whatever. So I think I took that. But yeah, I think USA wins tonight. Definitely. All right, guys. This has been the NFL Weekly Talk. My name is Paul Spencer. That man right there is Dan Connor. We will be back next Thursday night talking AFC South until we get to the NFC East, which is going to be our last division. And then we'll head into training camp, the draft. We'll talk about it all. We'll keep you here every week. So, guys, we appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. We're everywhere. Share it, tell a friend, subscribe,
And hit
do
the
what you
like
need to do.
button.
And exactly, hit that like button on all platforms, and we greatly appreciate it. And until then, we'll see you next Thursday, 6 p.m., talking AFC South. My name is Paul. That is Dan, and we will see you next week. Until then, guys, have a great, great, great week. We're done.
Good night, everybody.